one. Hello and welcome to this interview. Welcome back, everybody. Today, we're going to be stripping away the outdated noise, the cliches, and the stigmas surrounding one of the most misunderstood plants on the planet. For decades, culture has forced us into two rigid boxes. You're either a medical patient treating an illness, or you're a recreational user looking to check out. But from an elevated, holistic perspective, there is a third path. Using cannabis as a deliberate tool for lifestyle design, somatic recovery, and conscious exploration. Joining me today is Anna, from the owner of Respite, a space that is fundamentally redefining what it means to step into a modern cannabis dispensary. Anna, welcome.
Thank you so much, Stefan. It's very nice to be here.
Great to have you. Great to have you indeed. So, Adana, I'm very, very intrigued to hear a bit more about your experience in the space at the moment, about how you're shattering the old paradigm, and mainly because you see the frontline reality of this industry every single day. I wanted to ask you first up, how have you seen your types of customers, the demographics, change and evolve over the last couple of years?
Well, I must tell you that, the perception that cannabis is only for the stoners, that is hugely incorrect. If I tell you that most of my customers are over 50, not smokers, but using the
Wow.
product. Yes, yes.
Interesting, interesting. And if I could ask you,
Uh,
what,
you know
what are
that
you seeing them using it for?
MS, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, dementia, cancer, arthritis, which can really be debilitating if you've got a case of arthritis.
Hmm.
There's just so many illnesses. I've got diabetic clients that use the edibles because that even regulates their sugar. Type 1 diabetics who never used to get their sugar under 20 now sits with sugar under 10, glucose levels under 10.
Wow.
That's how it stabilizes. So, yes, we've seen a huge shift. It's not for stoners. There's a lot of people sick out there, people who cannot be treated. There is no medication to treat
Mm.
them, and they find relief with cannabis.
Fantastic, fantastic. And tell me, when they're using cannabis, and this is obviously now more for medicinal purposes, I'm assuming then it's not a high potency, they're not looking to get high, to get stoned. Is it
No,
more
no.
microdosing that they're doing?
Um, you know, there's actually a few ways to consume the cannabis. Um, they don't necessarily microdose, but
Mm-hmm.
it depends on how you actually take the cannabis into your body. If you eat an edible, everything that you eat goes through your tummy and metabolizes through your liver, which can give you an effect. It's exactly the same like when you drink 2 or 3 beers. Everything that goes through your tummy goes through your liver, and then you start feeling a little bit lightheaded. Now,
Mm-hmm.
if you consume cannabis that way, it will be exactly the same way. But if you bypass the liver, let's say, for instance, you take the fico oil and instead of just consuming it, you rub it on your gum so that it enters your body through the mucous membrane. Then you bypass the liver so you don't get that high or that interference with your space, so to say. Because lots of people think that, when they feel that, that's a sign that they're allergic to cannabis. Now, you can't be allergic to cannabis at all. Every single person has an endocannabinoid system. I mean, God
Yeah.
created us like this. We need these cannabinoids to sort out all the other imbalances in our bodies. So, and the endocannabinoid system only starts when two cannabinoids, the THC molecule and the CBD, the cannabidiol molecule, when that binds on the CD1 and 2 receptors in your body. Now, you've got these receptors throughout your body. You've got them in your skin. You've got them in your immune system. You've got them everywhere. So the moment they bind, it starts your endocannabinoid system, which starts to regulate, looking for problems, looking for bad sugar, looking for cancer cells, looking for anything that should not be there.
Now, I want to talk to you a bit more about that because I've always had a sort of, I guess, sense, even though I didn't have any research to back it up at the time, that cannabis would fall into the category of what we call adaptogenic, as in it essentially, like you said, goes and finds what shouldn't be there in the body,
Yes,
removes it. But it
yes.
also seems to, at least for me, whenever I use cannabis, I get very specific cravings for whatever my body is lacking. So if I've been training quite heavily, I will instantly require and feel the need for green leafy vegetables, stuff high in iron. I want salt. I want things that obviously has been flushed out of my body.
Yes.
Are people starting to use it as sort of a way instead of a crutch, but more of a guide to be able to say to them, this is where your body's lacking in something, this is what you need to be taking, and then using cannabis as a way to actually feel into their bodies a bit more?
Um, uh, Stefan, in some cases, yes. But we are, cannabis, there's so much research that still needs to be done. The only country who's really actively doing research is Israel, and they're far ahead when it comes to the research. Um, we found that when used in dementia patients, that the patients, it calms them down. So
Hmm.
that aggressiveness, because that's what happens when dementia progresses. The patient becomes increasingly aggressive, which leads to family members not even being able to get close to their family members.
Mm.
And when cannabis is used and it calms them down, it's beneficial. It doesn't slow down the process for the patient, but at least the family members, can spend the last days with the patient. Um, I've not really seen that people really use the whole of the plant. I've got some of my growers that want to start, you know, um, liquidizing the whole plant, not only using the flowers, but using the stems, using the leaves, and to drink the whole plant as a medicinal shot, as a booster shot. But I mean, there's no research that was there's not enough research to say yes, it will definitely help. The only research that we know at the moment is what can be proved, and that is research done by Israel. So for the others, I cannot say to you or to your viewers, yes, definitely this or that. What I've seen personally, um, there is many different ways people approach the cannabis. Some of them, they won't even look at the smoking. Some won't even look at vaping. Some won't look at eating, the edibles or the medibles, as we call them. Um, and only the concentrate. But I mean, essentially, it's the same thing. It's just people's perception is, yeah, I think it was tarnished, all these years by, advocating that cannabis is so harmful.
Mm.
Um, Whereas it is really not harmful in any way. We treat children, we treat everybody, we treat animals. We've even found that when cannabis is inside or consumed or in your body, when you have used cannabis, we found that it helps to heal. You heal quicker. The body heals quicker when you consume cannabis. It's like it is a crutch in a certain way, but not in the way that people think, like with a misperception of only stoners. No, it's not like that at all.
So interesting that you use the word crutch there because that is definitely, I think, how a lot of people tend to view it still. I remember when I was a kid, cannabis was always referred to as the gateway drug. Took me until my early 20s to realize, no, actually, alcohol is the gateway drug for most people,
Yeah.
not cannabis. You've never seen a stoner go out and decide that they're going to try 101 other different types of drugs.
No.
because it seems to not actually lower one's inhibitions. It rather puts you in a state of mind where you can process information at a much more paced rate. So I think in a lot of cases, it tends to lead to better decision making because you're taking the time to actually
Yes.
think things through, right? Because you sometimes,
Yes.
especially if you're on a
Absolutely.
if you're on an indica buzz, you physically can't move fast enough to make any bad decisions, which is great.
Exactly.
Um, but what would you say to somebody who wants to change or reevaluate their relationship with the plant and start to approach with genuine intention? What is the single piece of advice that you would give to them?
You have to try it. You have to try it to see, and you have to go look at the benefits. Go do your own research. Don't let people tell you a lot of things. Go do your own research and see for yourself. Go listen to people who've been on treatment. I've myself treated cancer patients who are currently in remission. Somebody here in Gansbaai, he was on the Pico oil for about 6 months. They preferred the holistic approach. They didn't want to go for chemo. So, and he's in remission. He's looking great. He's feeling
Amazing.
great. But obviously, it also means that you've got to have a healthy lifestyle. It's always important.
Oh, absolutely.
Um, uh, if I think of, what people have always said about cannabis, like you said, alcohol is the gateway drug, or even tobacco. I'm
Mm,
a tobacco smoker myself, and if I tell you, um, I cannot smoke cannabis for a month, and it wouldn't be an issue. But to not smoke a cigarette for a couple of hours is one hell of an issue.
yeah,
And that is one thing that people they need to understand that. They need to understand what is truly a drug. Uh, what is what is that feeling that you get? Why don't you have that feeling, that craving when you want cannabis? Because you want cannabis, but it's not this. Uh, it's an overwhelming thing in your. You just can't get past it. If you need a cigarette, you need it now. You just can't go without it. You need to smoke. But with cannabis, it's not like that. You don't get that urge. You feel like, yeah, I'd love to have a joint now because then I feel like a calm and chill. Because it does. It calms you down. It helps you organize your thoughts,
mm,
break things down so that you can approach problems, especially in today's, with all this pressure on everybody. We live, in a hectic world. Everything is going wrong every 10 minutes. So people are under a lot of stress. And just to manage that stress, just to be able not to take, a medication, strong medication that can harm your body, just to be able to eat a gummy, just to chill, just to get that effect, just to calm down. I mean, I think that in itself is worth more than anything because I've seen my clients, um, elderly people, people over 70, especially, come for my slumber bears. It's a 5 milligram infused gummy bear. It tastes pleasant. They eat one each evening and they don't have to take a sleeping tablet anymore. They sleep wonderfully. So there's so many benefits. If people would just try and not listen to mainstream media and all these ones wanting to put cannabis down because they want their product to go.
yes.
I mean, I think that they've by doing this, by keeping cannabis from people, by not making it available, I think that we've been harmed in a huge way. I think a lot of
Oh,
people would have
definitely.
benefited from this and the
Yeah.
treatments that are available now.
For sure. And it's so interesting that you said that about tobacco as well. And I'm going to come around to a few of the other points you made there too. But I remember an argument I had with one of my friends who insisted that cannabis is highly addictive. And I said, well, it's impossible because it's a proven fact that cannabis does not affect the pathways in the brain that show up in addiction, like it does with alcohol and with tobacco. And she said, but no, it definitely is because I've got a friend and she has to smoke a joint every single hour. And I said, but that can't be right. It just doesn't make sense. Nobody gets addicted to cannabis that way. It's simply impossible. It is a physical impossibility. until I met said friend, and she's rolling a joint in front of me. And I think 20% was cannabis, and the rest was the strongest tobacco she could find. And I realized, right, so you're not actually addicted to cannabis, you're addicted the to the tobacco, and that's why you're needing to have a joint every single hour. Oh, sorry, ladies and gentlemen, we seem to have lost um, Adina there, but we're going to try and get her back. Please bear with us. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, it seems like we lost Anna due to some technical difficulties there. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to take this over to part two. So do like, subscribe, and follow us, okay? And the link to actually see Anna's website is going to be in the bio as well. We're going to be tagging her in the comments too. So feel free to visit their pages on social media, give them a follow, give them a like, show them some love, and we'll continue this interview later on and wrap this up about all the misperceptions about cannabis. Until then, remember that everybody deserves to be healthy, wealthy, and wise. Bye for now.